Posted by you/cold_reaction 9554. So, a little background. My parents divorced when I, 35M, was 17. My dad struggled with alcohol and substance addiction, and my mom eventually left him, which I totally understood and supported. Living with him was impossible. He wasn't violent, but he was verbally abusive, and he spent all our money on his habits. That was the last straw for my mom. After the divorce, my dad spiraled. He nearly overdosed and ended up in the ICU. I was living with my mom at the time, but I was scared that my dad would die, so I moved back in with him and my uncle's family. My mom was disappointed but let me make my choice. Losing my mom, most of his friends, going broke, and nearly dying finally got through to my dad, and he promised he would get better for me. It was hard to watch, but he actually turned things around. My uncle paid for everything, rehab, therapy, medical bills, and after about 5 years, my dad was clean and somewhat healthy again. He even apologized to my mom, and she forgave him, though she told me later it was only for my sake so that they could be civil at future events like my graduation or wedding. Over those years, I kept in contact with my mom and regularly met with her. She had moved on and met a great guy, whom she eventually married. She was much happier, and I was happy for her. I thought we had a pretty good relationship. That changed when I was 23. My mom asked me to come over, and she told me she was still angry and disappointed that I chose my dad over her after the divorce. She said I was ungrateful for everything she went through, putting up with my dad's crap, and then she hit me with something that still pisses me off today. She told me she could see me becoming a drunk and substance addict like my dad because I stayed close to him. I don't drink, I don't do substances to this day, and I had no idea where that even came from. I was floored. I thought we had moved past all that, but apparently, she'd been harboring resentment for years. Then, she said that she wanted to go no contact with me because being around me brought back too many bad memories of my dad. She said she had found peace and happiness, and I was a reminder of all the pain she'd been through. I didn't know what to say except, okay. I later found out from a cousin on her side that her whole family was pissed at me for staying with my dad back then, and they all went no contact with me for her sake, saying that I betrayed her. I haven't seen or heard from my mom since that day. Fast forward to now, my dad passed away 2 years ago from a heart attack, a result of his years of addiction. Despite being clean for over a decade, he had lingering medical issues. I recently got married, and my wife posted some pictures from the wedding on Facebook. My wife said a woman claiming to be a cousin contacted her. I looked at the message, and it was a cousin from my mom's side, asking if it was really me in the pictures with my full name. I told my wife to ignore it, but then I got a call from my uncle later that same day, saying that my mom showed up at his house. For context, the house where my uncle lives currently used to be the home where I grew up with my parents. My uncle said she asked him to arrange a meeting between us, saying she wants to apologize to me face to face. He told me he can set it up if I want. Honestly, after all these years, I feel nothing for her except maybe slight resentment for thinking that I would turn out as an addict. I was going to say no right away, but my wife thinks that's a crappy thing to do and that I should at least hear her out, let her apologize, and then go back to never seeing her again if I want. She says despite what she did shield me from most of Dad's addictions growing up. Now I'm having second thoughts. Am I wrong if I refuse to meet her? Update 1 week later. I didn't expect the number of comments I got on the first post. Thank you to everyone who weighed in, whether you agreed with me or not. There were so many different perspectives, and I've taken time to think about everything. First, I want to address this. A few of you said I abandoned my mom when I went to live with my dad. It looks that way when I think about it now. However, I feel I never abandoned her in any way. I loved my mom dearly, and I loved my dad too. When she told me she was divorcing my dad, I helped her pack, and I left with her because I thought, at the time, that my dad was a lost cause. I went back about 7 months after the divorce when my dad was fighting for his life. That was when he promised me he would change and get help. I chose to stay with my dad after getting permission from my mom. As I said in my first post, she was disappointed but agreed that my dad needed me. Even after I chose to stay with my dad and uncle, I always stayed in contact with her. My mom and dad lived about 20 minutes apart, and I made sure to see my mom regularly, 4 to 5 times a week, at least. I would talk to her every day too. We went on trips together, ate meals together, and hung out as much as we could. When she moved in with her new husband, who I will call John, she always included me in her new family's life. John was good to me too. During all that time, there was not even the slightest indication of the resentment my mom had for me until she blindsided me with the decision to go no contact. I was completely shocked. She never expressed any anger or frustrations toward me, we never argued, and she never showed she was upset about my relationship with my dad until that day. After she blocked me from everyone, I tried for a couple of years to reconnect but eventually gave up when I moved out of the city. On to the update. A lot of you told me to meet her for closure, while others said not to bother. After thinking about it for a while, I had decided to meet her and was going to tell my uncle to set up a meeting. But before I could tell him, my uncle called me again, 3 days after my mom showed up at his house. He told me she came by again and gave him a letter for me. She apologized for bothering him and said she wouldn't be coming by again because she didn't want to raise my hopes unnecessarily. She hoped I would understand after I read the letter. My uncle said she sounded very sincere. I asked my uncle to send me pictures of the letter. It's not that long, and I'll summarize the important bits. The letter was a mix of apologies and well wishes. She wrote that she was sorry for how she treated me back then, especially for saying I'd turn out like my dad. She said she was going through some relationship issues with John, and seeing my dad getting better made her feel bitter because he never tried for her. She thought her second marriage was failing, and everyone around her seemed happy while she was miserable. She mentioned that she listened to some bad advice and regrets it. She said she regrets taking all her anger out on me when she should have gotten help. She said she made up lies to her side of the family so that they would side with her. I don't know what these lies were, as this is all she wrote. She said she got help a couple of years after going no contact but was too ashamed to reach out to me. She saw the wedding pictures and is happy for me, wishing me the best in life. She wrote that while she initially wanted to meet me, after some reflection and advice from her family, she realized it was for selfish reasons and only for her own sake. She apologized again and said it's better if we keep things the way they are. She ended the letter by saying she's happy and doesn't want to drag up the past. She apologized once more and wrote that she won't contact me again for both our sakes, asking me not to contact her as well, and wished me and my wife well. So, there's that. Honestly, it's probably the best outcome, and I'm at peace with it. I am happy with my life, and I'm glad my mom is happy with hers. Like she asked, I won't contact her, but I'll keep my door open if she ever wants to meet in the future. I also realized how foolish I was to hold on to my resentment over her comment about me becoming an addict. I also want to address the comments that said my wife was overstepping. My wife knows all about my past and about my mom. She is a kind soul who sees the best in people. Like I mentioned in a comment on my first post, she was just looking out for me. She wanted me to have no regrets. She did apologize for saying it would be crappy not to meet my mom, but it's all good. We both know each other's boundaries, and we communicate well. Right now, we're planning our honeymoon, and life is good. Thanks for all the supportive messages and comments, truly appreciate it. Bye.